Annyeonghaseyo, this is meowmurai. Let's continue our game of Despera Drops running on Nintendo Switch 2. Okay, I think we will look for, or we will run Ash's true ending, her happy end. And I think that will be it for our Despera Drops, playthrough. I'm sure the publisher wouldn't appreciate it if I did every single, happy end on stream. So I'm going to try to respect their wishes and at least do, a couple that I think will at least get your appetite whet for Despera Drops and potentially, pick it up for yourself and go through the other routes. Let's see. Because I believe Gib is like the favorite walkthrough. So we don't want to do that one, but we will do Ash, who is, which I think is like the second favorite, or maybe third favorite. I guess it depends on what you like.
それでは始めよう。
いい名前じゃん。これで OK？
Yeah, I like Ash. Between Ash and Gib, like I said, it would be hard to pick the favorite. I'll lean more towards Gib, but Ash seems cool. It'd be interesting to see what his Despera is. What do you do as a hacker?
ハッキングってどんなことをするんですか？なになに？お姉ちゃん興味あるの？
What on earth is what is an Earth Warrior of Love? You don't want to know, Mika.
愛の地球戦士って何でしょうか？
One of the few times we see Aida. She's such a big part of Mika's life, but we see her like maybe 5 times in the entire game. We never found out his story. I wonder which route we have to take to find out Hartfield's story. I think this is also why you grow so attached to these characters. It's just you spend so much time with them. What is Ash? Ash is from Switzerland, so maybe we'll end up in Switzerland. Yeah, who knows? Thank you is the right answer here. And I can't bring myself to sin more.
でも
And we're gonna thank Rami.
ありが
And I've changed my way of thinking.
考え方
And we did do this first part with Ash, before I knew about specific choices. So there's a fair amount of skipping in this one. But we will get to some good stuff, some good new stuff here. Is the bike that impressive?
それってそんなにいいバイクなんですか
Look at that smile on Ash's face. We hardly ever see that smile.
少し休憩しましょうか。
Technically, this is like the common save. I guess we could. Okay, so this is this one's Sally. This one was our bad. Oh no, this is the common save. Oh, I guess I had thought of this at some point in time.
これで OK?
We'll leave that there. I thought of it at some point in time, but I didn't remember. Okay, then we get an Ash specific choices, and like I said, we actually did pick the Ash specific choice before, so this part won't be new. And here he tried to ditch us. Thankfully, he didn't get his way. I'm gonna say, it sounds very warm. I like it.
優しそうで
And yeah, we finally get some new stuff here.
大事な
So,
ことは忘れないようにね。
oh, it even has a little picture of the route. Okay.
これで問題ありませんか？
I think of everything in these games. Alright, Ash it is.
アッシュさんにお願いできませんか
Ash had been the first to bring up casinos. He was at least a little knowledgeable about them, and he seemed like he'd actually visited one before. When I asked nervously, he fell silent for a short while. Then he sighed and stood from his seat.
何している？行くぞ。
はい
It seemed his silence was assent. Assent? Oh my gosh. Ash promptly strutted ahead of me, and I hurriedly chased after him so I wouldn't be abandoned. Yeah, well, Ash is the fighter. That's pretty good. I mean, he's the brawler, right? They definitely need a brawler here and there. We navigated the back alleys until we entered the downtown area. The intense sunlight, befitting of summer, was dazzling.
それでどこに
I tried to discuss where we should go, but Ash didn't even pause to wait for me. He marched on. Maybe he has a few ideas about where they are. In that case, I could breathe easy. I ran after him, but Ash's pace was swift, and just keeping up with him took all my effort. I diligently chased him, trying my hardest to avoid being left behind. When I had to turn a corner during my chase, I almost crashed into a man walking from another direction.
おっと。
すみません。
Yeah, that's true. Gib can also fight, but he's primarily the gun guy. I mean, he's the only gun guy, right?
いや、大丈夫だよ。
I blurted my apologies before immediately trying to follow Ash again. But before I could get anywhere, the man I'd nearly bumped into came over to me and blocked my way.
チャオ、シニョリーナ。ところで君、一人
Oh my god, leave me alone.
いえ、連れがいるので、すみません、失礼します。
Fearing that I might lose Ash completely, I tried to rush forward, but the man took on the role of a barricade once again.
連れってもしかして、先に行っちゃった不愛想な彼君みたいに綺麗な女性を置いていくなんて、ひどい男だね。
Go away, I'm not interested.
よかったら一緒にミラノ観光しないかい素敵な時間を君にお届けするよ。
Lots of dudes are like this, though. It's take a hand, get lost. I think I know what's going on. He was one of those men who liked hitting on tourists. I couldn't believe I was stopped by one of them when I had urgent business. Anxiety blossomed in my chest. What do I do? Knowing Ash, he'd likely left me behind altogether by now. Accepting that I'd lost him, I felt stuck. But then someone grasped my shoulder from behind. Of course, Ash towers over us. Startled, I looked up. It was Ash. When did he return? More importantly, why? Ash, who couldn't care less about others, was rescuing me. While I was overwhelmed with surprise, Ash shot a sharp glare at the man.
邪魔だ。失せろ。
If looks could kill, the man who'd been talking to me would have been long cold. The man flinched before raising both hands in surrender.
おっと、ごめんごめん。迷子になってると思っただけだよ。お連れさんがいたとはね。俺はもう行くから安心してくれよ、旦那。君に会えていい一日だったよ、シニョリーナ。チャオ
With a stiff, forced smile, the man walked off. I let out a breath I'd been holding now that I was free. Then there was a biting rebuke from above.
目立つんじゃない。遊びじゃないんだぞ。
I'm not attracting attention, I'm just walking around. I can't help it if men are horny.
すみません。
After I apologized, I found Ash looking at me with a conflicted expression I couldn't quite read.
まあいい。先に行っちまった俺にも落ち度はある。
Surprisingly, Ash took some of the blame. Even more shockingly, he wasn't angry.
人と並んで歩くことなんてねえから、勝手がわからないんだ。
That made sense, since he liked being a lone wolf.
どうすればいい？
普通に横に並んで歩いてもらえるとありがたいです。
わかった。
With a sigh, Ash released my shoulder.
行くぞ。
And those were all the words he offered before he began walking again. But this time, his speed was just a tad slower, and I was able to walk beside him without difficulty. Okay, Ash is very considerate. Italy, Milan, July 17th, 2028, 1806, Monday, back alley. The hours ticked by. Ash and I went to various places, such as the library, to investigate, but our hard work didn't bear fruit. I felt completely stuck.
何も手がかりがありませんね。アッシャさんは何か情報を見つけられましたか？
いや。
Yeah, I guessed as much. At this rate, we'd return empty-handed. I was racking my brain for ideas when I saw Ash lifting his head. I traced Ash's line of sight. Two ruffians were chatting as they walked towards us.
だからバカらはやめとけって言っただろうが。どうしててめえはいつも言うこと聞かねえんだよ。
兄貴がバカらなら負け知らずだって言ったんじゃないですか。だいたいあの時。
The pair took swigs from beer bottles as they walked. Rather, as they stumbled, drunk. Keeping our distance as much as possible was prudent. When I looked at Ash, I saw that he'd stayed standing still. He stared hard at the men with his usual tactum gaze.
ああ、何見てんだよ。俺らは今気が立ってるんだ。さっさと失せな。
今バカラと言っていたな。どこでしてきた？
はあ？てめえ、負けた俺らを笑おうっていうのか？
I didn't know what set him off, his intoxication or his ire, but one of the men grabbed Ash by the collar. Oh, well, that's not a good idea. Yet there wasn't even a ripple in Ash's expression. He dispassionately looked down at the man.
俺は場所を聞いているだけだ。どこでバカラをしてきた？
もう一度バカラって言ってみろ。その時はただじゃおかねえ。
The man shoved Ash away with the same hand before spitting on the ground. His gaze then slid to me.
大体、女を連れてなんだ？裏カジノなんかに観光にでも行くつもりか？あっという間にそんな女、男の餌食になっちまうぜ。ああ、それともなんだ？そいつを掛け金にでもするつもりか？そりゃいい。おい女、こっち来い。
Oh, we'll run into all the worst dudes with Ash.
てめえを使って今度こそ勝ってやる。俺はバカラじゃ負け知らずだって言われてたんだよ。
The man reached out his hand at me. Not a second later, a heavy slam resounded in the back alley. What? The next thing I knew, one of the men was lying prone on the ground. After a second's delay, I realized that Ash had punched him.
兄貴てめえ何しやがる！
お前らが先に絡んできたんだろうが。
Ash sneered at them, exasperated. Then he grabbed the collar of the other man and punched his jaw. Next, Ash squeezed him by the shoulders and kneed him in the stomach. Just like the first, the second man collapsed on the ground without any chance to retaliate. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. Ash walked back over to one of the men on the ground and yanked his head up by his hair. Oh, jeez. Okay, Ash, jeez.
どこのカジノに行ってきた？場所を言え。
His voice was a low growl. Under Ash's piercing gaze, fear crept into the man's eyes.
ダンテ通りの裏にある赤い扉のバールの地下だよ。あんたみたいなやつなら知ってるだろ。
Ash released his hold on the man's hair and flicked his eyes to me.
帰るぞ。
Ultimately, violence had been the answer. My mind replayed the way the TV reporter had said, charged with assault. Recalling how he'd beat the men mercilessly with a stoic expression made goosebumps rise in my skin. But now, Ash was walking behind me, as if he was on alert for possible revenge, positioning himself like a guardian to keep me safe. He didn't speak a single word. His punches and silent glares had been scary, but at the same time, I felt that those weren't all he was. Still, as we returned to the condo, I knew the scene of him hitting those guys while looking so composed was going to be stuck in my mind for a while. That evening, all of us ventured to the unlicensed casino we found. I think this part we can skip? Yeah. And we don't have to worry about the minigame. That's right, everybody loses their money. We'll run into Rebecca. And we will skip the mission. No need to do that again. Well, we'll say Camo was there first. We're gonna give Sally some minuses, but we did already go through her route, so it's okay.
でもカミュさんが先に見てたから順番じゃないかな。
そうです。むしろみんなでこの神作品を鑑賞しようではありませんか。
いや、そういうのは間に合ってるからな。
そんなこと言わずに一緒に見ましょうよ。なんでしたら隣でじっくり解説してあげますから。
わかった。解説は聞いてあげる。だからチャンネルはサッカーに変えるよ。
Catching Camo off guard, Sally snatched the remote and changed to a dedicated sports channel.
ちょっと何するんですか。映像を見ながらじゃないと理解できるわけがないじゃないですか。
いや、サリーとしてはサッカーの結果が分かればいいし。
真面目に見たらちゃんと気に入りますから。
In the end, Camo and Sally warred over the remote. As for Hamiel, he quickly withdrew from the competition and checked the news on his phone. I mean, I'm sure what Camo wanted to watch was fine. Probably something that we'd all enjoy. But not necessarily having somebody, like, talk through the whole thing. Now, who likes that, huh? Never heard of such a thing. That's right. Yeah, I don't think we ever ran into Bishop either. Again, it's I wonder what timeline we have to pick to have Bishop. I will say, I'll praise you.
褒めてほしいなら
That's right. I forget that we only pick Sally to do the drive or the escape out of the city. Because Ash is in the cabriolet. And we will ask Ash.
ここからはアッシュさんにお願いできますか？
Sally was tired, and since Ash loved bikes, I was sure he would be a dependable driver.
わかった。
Ash promptly mounted the bike and started the engine.
行くぞ。早く乗れ。
はい。
That's right. Ash is just super straightforward. No chit-chat. We pulled back onto the motorway, crossed the border, and entered the bounds for Switzerland. Now free from pursuers, Ash seemed to be enjoying himself, leisurely steering the handlebars as we rode. I gazed at his profile from my spot in the sidecar. He was savoring the experience of zooming around on the bike. I'd never seen him this relaxed before. Ash really loves his motorcycles, huh? I recall the first time he'd laid his eyes on it, he practically glowed. But recalling that memory reminded me that this was a stolen vehicle. How could I have forgotten my own crimes? Yet they had nearly slipped my mind as I ran from place to place. Horrified, I looked down at my hands. What if one day I ended up forgetting all the sins I'd committed? Well, my thoughts churned and stewed, and I could only look down. Suddenly, Ash called out to me.
見ろ。
When I lifted my head, I saw majestic mountains in the distance. Their summits were dusted with snow, the foothills carpeted with luscious evergreen trees. They were the iconic mountains of Switzerland. While I'd been casting my eyes down, we'd left Italy behind us. I was speechless, enthralled by the peaks, the plains, and the rivers.
綺麗。
After casting a brief glance in my direction, Ash returned his gaze to the mountains stretched across the horizon.
どうせ人生なるようにしかならない。悩むだけ無駄だ。
Yeah, Mika is unusually calm. The panic attack ended up being from Rami. Well, I mean, I guess Sally also had a panic attack. It was as if he was saying that compared to the grand nature around us, we were insignificant, as if nature didn't bat an eye at the crimes of humans. There was a hint of anger or hatred in his eyes as he observed the mountain range. Whether it be sin or penitence, they were merely human constructs. That was what I felt he was telling me. Oh, that's an awful lot for those few words he said. Was Ash trying to console me in his own way because he noticed my low spirits? Though he kept everyone at arm's length, Ash was surprisingly observant of others and apt at providing keen insight. You've got to let life take its course, huh? It described me perfectly. Life hadn't granted me any time to think before branding me an internationally wanted criminal. It swallowed me like quicksand. It happened in the blink of an eye. I didn't have the option to think, if only I'd done things differently. Life led me, not the other way around. If that was my case, then did Ash commit his crime simply because that was where his life had led him? Why had he been arrested under charges of assault? Well, I think we know why. He's already assaulted people. A couple people since we've met him. I had a feeling that he wouldn't say even if I asked, so I only stared at his profile in silence. His expression as he watched the Swiss scenery go by was too rigid to be nostalgia for his homeland. There was something chilly about it. Switzerland Mountain, July 18th, 2028, 1624, Tuesday, Riverbank. A bit later, Ash pulled over along a riverside path. He dismounted the bike without explanation. As I was wondering what was going on, he turned to face me.
あいつらがまだ来ねえしな。少しここで待つぞ。
Ash turned to face the road behind us. I couldn't see the cabriolet anywhere. I knew we'd driven fast, but I didn't realize we'd left them behind. The Ash I'd known until now wouldn't have chosen to wait for anyone. Had a sense of fellowship been kindled in his heart over the last few days as well. Just like before, Ash glared at the Swiss mountains with a grim expression. He averted his gaze just moments later, as if they'd gotten on his nerves. His eyes were feral like a wolf's, but there was also this forlorn vulnerability, like that wolf had strayed from his pack.
んだよ。
I'd been regarding him for a while. Ash turned away from me, looking uncomfortable.
どうせ、お前も目つきが悪いとか思ってんだろ。
目つき？
違うのか？
違います。ただ綺麗な目だなって思ってたんです。
They reminded me of a noble wolf's, or a big snowy mountain untainted by men. Though he didn't look unapproachable, he didn't look nasty. Ash blinked.
なんだ？そうかよ。
His response was blunt, but his tone seemed a touch brighter than earlier.
ならいい。
His lips pulled into a subdued smile as he spoke. He held a warmth I'd not seen on him before. I could tell that he was relieved. I didn't think of his look as crude or aggressive. So this is what he looks like when he smiles. He usually was either stoic or frowning, so I was captivated by the sight of his rare smile. It was an odd feeling that just a single statement I made affected his emotions this much.
二人ともいた。
When I heard Sally's voice, I turned to see the cabriolet finally approaching.
あれ？アッシュ君笑ってる？
笑ってない。
いや絶対笑ってたんだけど。
見間違いだ。
Ash had already returned to his usual cold expression as he retorted. I felt a little sad that the smile I'd glimpsed had disappeared. Safely reunited, we collectively decided to rest along the river.
はあ、腹減ったー。
And we're going to say just stop fighting.
こんなことで喧嘩するくらいならみんな勝手にしてもいいんじゃないでしょうか。払いたい人が払うという感じで。
No, choose the chaos option. We should have known. The teamwork of strangers was simply bound to fail. Above all, I was tired of fighting over these small things time and time again.
なんだ。あんたにしちゃまともなことを言うじゃないか。
俺は初めからそのつもりだ。
だがそんなことではこれから先また資金不足で苦労するかもしれない。ただでさえ何が起こっているのかわからないのだから、不安要素は少ないに越したことはないだろう。
それは一理ありますね。お金で苦労するというのが一番不毛ですから。
自分の分くらいなら僕は調達できるけど、困った時だけ頼りにされるのは迷惑かな。
別にどうでもいいんじゃないのか。金の切れ目が縁の切れ目とも言うしよ。
それにいつまでも一緒に行動しているとも限らないしな。
うわー、みんな本当に勝手だよね。ま、勝手にしていいならサリーもそうするけど。
The conversation was spiraling out of control. What was the right thing to say? I was at a loss. That was when Gibbs sighed with resignation.
わかった。今回については私の交渉不足だったと認め、整備費の半額はこちらで負担しよう。だが今後は必ず当分させてもらう。残りの500ユーロを君たち6人で分割してくれ。
では私がその残りの500ユーロを。
ダメだ。彼らも半額までなら出すと言ったんだ。それには従ってもらう。
Oh, I thought it was going to go completely different. Okay, well, we came back to me being me being the accountant. I'm gonna pick Ash's order.
じゃあアッシュさんと同じもので。
レシティが何か分かってるのか？
いえ、わかりませんが、スイスの料理ですよね。アッシュさんが頼むのなら間違いないかなと思いまして。
じゃがいもの料理だ。うまい。
Oh, potatoes are always good.
なるほど。それで大丈夫です。
追加でこれも頼む。
あいよ。
Ash had taken the initiative to place the order on my behalf. After confirming our picks, the idle shopkeeper disappeared into the kitchen. A while later, our dishes were carried to our table one by one. The appetizing aroma of potatoes drifted in the air, and I noticed Ash's expression soften.
そういえば、アッシュ君はスイス国籍でしたっけ？
ああ。
So that's why. Ash had appeared more spirited than usual as he faced the display of cuisine assembled on our table. Having the chance to enjoy the nostalgic taste of his homeland might be a source of joy for him. Food was fundamental. Anyone would ease up if they could enjoy the taste they knew and loved, especially when they were fugitives on the run. You know, I really haven't eaten Japanese food in a long time. Oh, okay, I think this is the same conversation. I think we've gone through it enough times where I recognize at least bits and pieces of it. And we're going to trust Gib.
ジブさんを信じ。
Of course we're going to trust Gib. Ah, Carlos. Always causing us trouble. Is it even teachable?
スリのコツなんて教えられるの？
あれ？てっきりスリのコツを教えるなんてダメって言うと思ったのに、珍しいね。
別に認めたわけじゃないよ。そもそもコツを教えられるようなことなのかも私にはわからないし。
ま、正直に言うと、こればっかりは経験して腕を磨くしかないんだけどね。だからコツを教えるって言っても、ターゲットの選び方かな。確実に擦れる相手の見極め方ってやつさ。 例えば
Rami prepared to launch into a detailed lecture, but the content of this lecture was more dangerous than practical techniques.
ちょっとストップ。そんなの教えちゃダメだから。そもそもその土地の権利書を売ってもらえなきゃお金なんていくらあっても意味ないもの。だからどうしようもな。
Oh, recognize that dialogue. Oh yeah, we're with Rami in this portion of the game. It seems like he's the first character they steer you towards. And we say we did nothing wrong.
私たちは悪いことなんてしてません。
And pick Ash. I'd grown concerned about Ash as the evening wore on. He was irritated, more than usual, and I thought he might end up being reckless if he got behind a wheel in this state.
アッシュさん。
I was going to tell Ash to rest, but before I could say anything, he climbed onto the bike. Meanwhile, Gibb sat at the driver's seat of the cabriolet, and one after another, the rest of the group joined him. Thus began our drive onto the night roads. We raced down the highway under the curtain of night. Our destination wasn't Bern like we'd initially planned. Now we were heading to Basel. Since a witness had reported us in Switzerland, we decided to drive to Basel to leave the country. It was close to the borders of France and Germany.
今後いつ休めるかわからない。寝ておけ。
はい。
There wasn't traffic at this time of night, and the road led straight ahead. Normally, I'd be able to relax and doze away, but alas. Though we didn't have police chasing after us, Ash's driving was erratic. I couldn't rest peacefully. Ever since we'd left Thun, Ash had been acting off. He seemed on edge. Perhaps he blamed me for acting out of line after all. I'm really sorry.
すみませんでした。勝手なことをして。
何のことだ。
私がトゥーンで勝手な行動をとったせいで、こうして逃げ出すことになってしまったから。ごめんなさい。怒ってますよね。
別に。お前に怒ってるわけじゃねえ。お前はラミーに巻き込まれただけだろ。ラミーだってあのガキを助けたかっただけだ。面倒なことにはなったが、やっちまったことに文句言ってても仕方ない。
From the sound of it, Ash's crossness wasn't directed at Rami or me. But if that was the case, I had no clue why he was this riled up. Ash slowed the bike back down to the speed limit.
俺は慣れてるからいいんだ。
He whispered that out of the blue.
慣れてる？何にですか？
俺はこんななりだから、歩いてるだけで因縁つけられたり、喧嘩になるなんて日常だ。世間が思う通りの人間だ。理解されようなんて思っちゃいない。だがお前は違う。お前はあのガキを助けたかっただけだろ。
はい。
Though I had chosen the wrong approach, that was all I had wished for.
頼まれてもいねえし、見返りもねえ。かといって感謝されたくてやったわけでもねえ。なんでそんなことをするのか、俺にはその気持ちがわからねえけど。お前のそういう思いまで踏みにじられたってのが、なんか気に入らねえんだよ。
In short, Ash was mad on my behalf. Director Hana's condemnation was right. We had attempted to cheat our way forward through illegal means. I couldn't blame him for reprimanding us. But fury seeped out of Ash's tone. He couldn't get over that the man disparaged our good intentions.
ありがとうございます、アッシュさん。
なんで礼を言う？
だって私のために怒ってくれたんですよね。
別に。
Ash didn't agree nor disagree. He forewent responding and accelerated the bike once more, but this time he steered smoothly with a mind for caution. After roughly 2 hours, we arrived in Basel. Switzerland, Basel, July 21st, 2028, 2:46, Friday, condo. We checked into a budget condo that Sally found online. This time, our lodgings were nice and cozy. The beds were soft, the bath was private, and there was even a kitchen. We'd get proper rest here. After that conversation, Ash had barely said another word to me throughout the drive here.
Oi.
But just as about to enter the girl's bedroom, Ash unexpectedly called out to me.
嫌なことは寝て忘れろ。
And that was all. He marched into the other room and shut the door just as swiftly. Like always, he was a man of few words, but the consideration behind them warmed my heart. Then I went into my room, collapsed on the bed, and slept. Yeah, he is super nice in his own way. Yeah. After that, we spent the day inside the condo, each doing our own thing, like sleeping, showering, or doing laundry. Ah, see, this is the one time they mentioned doing laundry. Yeah. Switzerland, Basel, July 21st, 2028, 22:06, Friday, condo living room. By the time night fell, everyone was awake, so I made a meal as had become my routine. The menu for dinner tonight was a simple soup made from leftover ingredients that we'd bought in Thun, paired with some bread. Soup and bread, pretty staple food. Used to have that all the time. Make enough soup for like 3 days worth of 3 days worth of eating, and buy some bread every day. That's right. These are our fellow explosive enthusiasts. What a weird coincidence we'd run into other people that like to bomb stuff. I mean, really, what are the chances? I'll say, I believe in you.
神さんを信じて。
Well, what a cast of characters. Everyone's so unique. Nobody's really a copy of another person with some slight tweaks, which, you know, it can be a danger in some of these visual novels with such a large cast. But everybody's got a personality, their own personality. Rebecca, actually, you probably heard my call in that case. Oh, that's right, we did do this one. Because we screwed around with loading and different results. And here we actually say they wouldn't.
そんなことするような人たちじゃありません。
彼らの何を知ってるっていうの。何にせよ彼らは犯罪者なの。少なくとも 一緒にいても未来がないってわかるでしょ。だから自首をするって決断して、その方が絶対に安全よ。
Of course, this turned out this was the most dangerous option. That was probably the sensible choice to make. There was nothing unwise with her statement. Even so, I couldn't deny how agitated I felt hearing her denounce the others.
彼らのことをよく知らないのに、そんなことは言わないでください。
I knew these people beyond numbers and graphs on lifeless pieces of paper. I had to stand up for them. Perhaps they were indeed the kind of criminals that society regarded them as, but I wanted to continue to understand them and see them as fellow humans.
天峰さん、あなた、このままじゃ手遅れになるわよ。
Just as I was about to ask what she meant, a voice cut me short.
レベッカ・ロッソの言う通りだな。
I turned around with a start. There, behind me, I saw Europol officers who'd come after us in Milan.
ちょっと、あなたたちは誰よ。勝手に人の取材に割り込まないで。
These two. Ash comes to our rescue here. And then I thought you were better than this.
そんなことを言うなんて見損ないました。
おいおい。
That's right, Ash gets captured. Nobody wants to help, but we go on our own. With our sneaking skills we learned from the master of sneaking. See, it's what friends do.
そんな仲間なんだから当然じゃないですか。
仲間だからか。
Ash echoed my words with a slightly melancholic expression.
ごめんなさい。私なんかが軽々しく仲間だなんて。
Ash had survived perfectly fine on his own. I was certain that he'd overcome countless harrowing crises with his own power up until now. Perhaps he could have broken out of his conundrum on his own this time too. In fact, I might have made him strain himself because of my meddling.
んなことねえよ。お前に言われるなら、そんなに悪いもんじゃねえってことだ。その、仲間ってのもな。
He smiled sheepishly. The door to his heart, which had remained firmly closed until now, had opened just a little. My heart swelled and I tried to return a smile of my own, but I failed.
あれ
Maybe because I'd finally relaxed, my vision blurred and I saw double. I heard something like waves while the sound around me faded and I lost my balance. My knees grew weak and my vision flickered. I was fainting. By the time I realized that, I was already so out of it that I didn't know what I could reach out to so I wouldn't fall. I had to hold on to something, but I was so disoriented I couldn't even tell up from down.
Mika?
I could make out their flustered voices, but I was unable to work up a response, and the next moment my consciousness cut out. My head was burning up. My body was heavy. I couldn't speak. In my dreams, I was forced to watch everything that had happened over and over and over again.
さっきのやりとりでよくわかっただろう。平和ボケした殺人犯と一緒にいたらこっちが破滅する。俺はここらでおさらばさせてもらうよ。
What if I'd separated from them then?
明日の正午、ドゥオモ広場で待ってるわ。いい返事を期待しているわよ。
What if I'd gone to the meeting place back then? Regret, guilt, shame. transient like sea foam, surfaced in waves before fading away. I tumbled in and out of awareness, never able to grip reality for very long. Where in the world was I right now? Chapter 8, Confession. That's right. Here's where we hear them talking smack about me. Trying to ditch me. Never ditch the cook. Okay, and this one is act as a decoy. It's interesting. It's interesting that they don't word it in a way that you would know who you're picking. I guess if you were paying attention, then you would know that they always list the people in the same order, but, you know, I wasn't paying attention the first 2 times we played, so or at least the first time we played. If I became a decoy, if they caught me, everyone else really would be spared, right? I was coming to a stop to turn myself in when, out of nowhere, a vigorous force hit my stomach. Ash lifted me bodily and carried me in his arms. He hadn't given me time to utter a single word. It's interesting he decided to punch me to make his point, but okay. Even with me in his arms, Ash kept running. Sometime later, he finally came to a stop below a large tree. He put me down before checking on what was behind us from the cover of the trees. There was no sound of footsteps chasing us. After remaining alert for a good while, tension eased out of his shoulders. As my body relaxed, I shivered. Though we lost our pursuers yet again, I could not run the cold. My clothes, drenched with rain, stole heat away from my skin. My teeth started chattering. It's freezing. Was I cold or was I scared? For some reason my shaking wouldn't stop. I hugged myself tightly with both arms and crouched down. I shrunk into myself, trying to keep the heat within my body. In an attempt to warm up even just a bit, I rubbed my arms with my hands. Then I felt something drop onto my head. Oh, I see what you're saying. It was Ash's vest. It blocked my bare shoulders from the harsh wind, and my body, cold from the rain, gained just a little bit of warmth. Ash looked up at the night sky as he said that. His expression seemed like his usual neutral tone. Was this his way of showing concern? I pulled on the fabric with both hands to tighten it around me. Only the ceaseless pour of rain filled the air. Ash didn't say a single word. All he did was wait for the rain to stop, looking almost bored. But as the thundering weather grew even heavier, our footing became less and less reliable. We wouldn't be able to stave off the rain even under the tree. Ash rushed out into the rain. I hugged his vest to my chest so that I wouldn't get wet as I ran after him. France, Colmar, July 25th, 2028, 1:12 in the morning, Tuesday, cave. We eventually found a cave on the mountainside. The rain was relentlessly fierce, forming an almost impenetrable curtain outside. Ash walked inside with an annoyed scowl. He seemed fed up, and guilt welled up in my chest. The people who had attacked us had clearly given out the order to seize Acolyte. Again, it was me, and only me. I recalled how they'd sounded like none of the others had mattered as long as they were able to capture me alive. Now, I was sure that they'd come to attack us due to my power. That must have been the reason for the special codename. It was obvious. With me around, none of the others could escape from my enemy's tenacious pursuit. When I whispered an apology, Ash turned around with a quizzical frown.
何に謝ってる?
足手まといになってしまって。それと、私のせいで襲われてしまって。
Ash fell silent. He sat down, propping his back against the wall. With his eyes, he signaled me to sit down as well. I settled down next to him, and he glanced at me.
追われる理由に何か思い当たる節があるんだろう。何が原因だ?
For a brief moment, I wavered. My mother's voice echoed in my head, telling me to keep silent. But now that I dragged them into my mess, they were no longer outsiders. I ought to tell them the truth. I cast my eyes down at my hands and slowly spoke up.
多分私の力のせいだと思います。
Okay, we are approaching the hour,
少し休憩しましょうか。
so why
これで
don't we
OK?
stop it there? This is meowmurai. You've been watching Despera
これ
Drops,
で問題ないか。
running on
じゃ
Nintendo Switch 2.
あ後でね。
Anyway, I hope you enjoyed
Bye-bye.
watching. I will see you at the next stream. Yeah, this is
デスペラド
fun.
ロップス
I mean, Ash is a pretty complex character.